Okay, shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Once again, this is Brother Brandon Judah Matt Duffy, okay? And the topic on today will be who are the Gentiles concerning the New Testament, okay? To let you know that the Gentiles in the New Testament are Israelite foreigners, okay? The Gentiles that were grafted in are Israelite foreigners. And we're going to prove that on today. We're going to be talking about Gentiles. There are actually two types of Gentiles, okay? There are Gentiles that are not from the house of Jacob. Let me show you. There are Gentiles concerning from 2 to 18. Let me move a little closer. Let's not focus on number 1, okay? Let's not focus on number 1 because number 1 are the Hebrew Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? Let's focus on number 2 down to 18. Okay, these will be considered Gentiles, okay? But there are two types of Gentiles concerning the Bible. The first Gentile set of Gentiles are Gentiles from 2 to 18 that are not Hebrew Israelites, okay? Gentiles such as the Edomites, which is the so-called white people today, the Elamites, which is the so-called East Indians, okay? The Asherites, which are the Assyrians, Aramites, which are the Syrians. You got Ishmaelites, which are Arabs, Moabites, Chinese, Ammonites, Japanese, Cushites, Ethiopians, Mizraimites, which are the Egyptians. You have the people of Libya, which are the North Africans. You have the people of Gomer, which are Turkish people, the Russians, Magog, Javanites, which are Greeks, Ashkenazis, which are the Germans, Tarshish, which are Spanish, and the Kittites, which are Cyprus. Okay, once again, from 2 down to 18, people, pay close attention. From 2 to 18, these are not Hebrew Israelites. So from 2 to 18, they are Gentiles. Okay? If you're not from the house of Jacob, if you're not a Jew, okay, you are a Gentile. Okay? And the Gentiles, once again, is from 2 to 18. So that's the first set of Gentiles, okay? The second set of Gentiles concerning the Bible would be the 12 tribes of Israel, okay, on this side. The 12 tribes of Israel, which is basically Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians that have taken upon the customs of other nations or people. That would be the second type of Gentiles, okay? So if you are a Hebrew Israelite, and if you is a Negro, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Jamaican, Mexican, Haitian, Hawaiian, Seminole Indian, Panamanian, Brazilian, Dominican, or North American Indian, if you are on this list, okay, and you are taken upon the customs of other nations, such from 2 to 18, okay, if you're taken upon the customs of the white man, taken upon the customs of the Elamites, taken upon the customs of the Asherites, and so forth, are these other Gentile nations, if you're taken upon their customs, you have made yourself a Gentile, okay? So the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, if they go off and take upon the customs from 2 to 18, which is these Gentiles, they have also made themselves a Gentile, okay? So I hope I explained that. I wanted to go over that before we got into the scripture. Okay? So once again, there are two types of Gentiles, which are Gentiles that are not Israelites and Gentiles that are Israelites that have taken upon the customs of other countries and regions, okay? That would be your two types of Gentiles concerning the Holy Bible, okay? And we're going to get into it, talking about Israelite foreigners, which is also Israelite Gentiles. Now, the Most High and Christ, the Most High, the children of Israel, the children of God, are once again the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Those are the children of God, not any other nation, okay? The nations that I showed you on this list from 2 to 18, they are not the children of God. No matter how they may have tried to make it seem in America, they teach you that we are all the children of God. That's not true. The children of God are once again the Hebrew Israelites, which are the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Not any other nation are the children of God, okay? And I'm going to show you this concerning the Bible. So we're going into, once again, we're going into the Holy Bible, King James Version. This is Brandon Brother Judah Matt Duffy, and we're going to get to the bottom line on who are the Israelite foreigners concerning the Bible. And once again, the New Testament, when you see the Gentiles in the New Testament, those are the Hebrew Israelites, okay? It's just that they was called Gentiles. Why? Because they had taken upon the customs of other nations. We're gonna get into that. So let's start off with Psalms. I want to start off with Psalms 147, verse 19. We're gonna stop on 20. Let's begin with verse 19. Okay, it says, "He sheweth his word unto Jacob." Okay, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So concerning verse 19 out of Psalms 147, it says that he showeth his word unto who? He's showing his word unto Jacob. And when it says he showed his word unto Jacob, it's saying that he showed his words unto the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? Because Jacob, on the other hand, had 12 sons from 4 different women, okay? His 12 sons makes up the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? Which is basically concerning the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, okay? We know that Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and his 12 sons became the Israelites, all right? So when it says in Psalms 147, verse 19, that he showed his word into Jacob, basically it's just saying that he showed his word into Israel, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel, okay? When he had an encounter with an angel. In Israel, once again, it means Yasha Allah in Hebrew, okay? And it means the prince of powers, all right? So Jacob is another name for Israel. Who are the Israelites? Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, okay? So it says, show his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments to Israel. What is his statutes and his judgments? His statutes and his judgments are the commandments, okay? So concerning Jacob, the Mosai, that's the only nation that he showed his judgments and his statutes and his judgments to, Israel, not any other nation. How do we know this? Let's continue with verse 20 out of Psalms 147. It says, he had not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So praise the Most High, because he has not dealt so with any other nation, okay? Concerning Psalms 147 and verse 20, okay? He has not dealt so with any other nation. So this proves that he has not dealt with the white man, which are the Edomites. He has not dealt with the East Indians, which are the Elamites. He has not dealt with the Assyrians and the Asherites. He has not dealt with the Syrians, which are the Aramites. Neither he dealt with the Arabs, which are the Ishmaelites. He has not dealt with the Chinese, which are Moabites. He has not dealt with the Japanese, which are the Ammonites, and the Ethiopians, which are the Cushites, the Mizraimites, which are the Egyptians. And like I said in the beginning, going all the way down from 2 to 18, y'all, he did not deal with these nations, okay? He only dealt with number 1, which is Israel, okay? The 12 tribes. So the 12 tribes, Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, this is who he showed his statutes and his judgments to. This is who he showed his laws, statutes, and commandments to. This is who he chose as his special people concerning Deuteronomy. This is who he dealt with. So everyone is not the children of God, okay? Only Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians. How do we know these are the children of God? You can read Deuteronomy chapter 28, and you can begin with 28 verse 15, stopping on 68. Those are the curses to let you know that we are the only people that fit those curses concerning Deuteronomy 28, 15, stopping on 68. Negroes and Hispanics and Native Indians are the only people that went in slavery on cargo slave ships throughout history. This proves that we're the children of God. Any other nation he has not dealt with. That's just as clear as it gets, y'all. Okay? So, let's continue. We're going to break this down because many other nations, they think that concerning the New Testament, many other nations think that those Gentiles are them, and they are not, okay? concerning the New Testament. They think that those Gentiles in the New Testament are them. Say, for instance, okay, I'm going to give you an example. The white man would think that the Gentiles in the New Testament is concerning them. Okay, the Chinese man would think that the Gentiles in the New Testament are concerning them. And all the other nations, they think that the Gentiles that are in the New Testament is concerning them when it's not. Okay, it's concerning Israelite Gentiles that were calling themselves names of other nations. You're going to get that. The Gentiles that was grafted in are the Israelite foreigners, which are the northern kingdom. Okay, those are the Israelites that was grafted in. The Gentiles that was grafted in. All right, let's start off. So, Gentiles are Israelite foreigners. And we went over the two sets of Gentiles, okay, as far as Gentiles not being Hebrew Israelites, and as far as Hebrew Israelites, on the other hand, adopting the customs of other nations, making themselves Gentiles. But according to the flesh, they are Israelites, okay? Now, let's go over the history of the scattered Israelites. Okay, we know that King David, he ruled over the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? King David ruled over the 12 tribes of Israel. He ruled over all these tribes, okay? But when King David gave his son, King Solomon, the kingship over Israel, when King Solomon became the king of Israel, we know that King Solomon went off into sin. King Solomon, he went off and did many things, okay? He did evil things in the sight of God, okay? King Solomon, he went off, he met, basically, he intermingled with different women of different nations, okay? He built temples to different women concerning different nations, and that was idolatry in the eyes of the Most High. So Solomon did evil in the sight of the Most High. So what did the Most High do to Solomon? Basically, he rent the kingdom from Solomon, okay? And it was the reason that Solomon's sin caused the 12 tribes of Israel to be split into two separate kingdoms. Okay, the northern kingdom, which is called the house of Israel, another name for the northern kingdom would be called the kingdom of Ephraim. And the southern kingdom, which is called the kingdom of Judah, okay? So Solomon's sin caused the 12 tribes of Israel to be split into two separate kingdoms, okay? And you can read about that concerning 1 Kings chapter 11. It explains how the 12 tribes of Israel was isolated into two parts, okay? When King David was ruling, it was not split into two kingdoms. It's when Solomon started ruling as king, he caused the 12 tribes of Israel to be split into two kingdoms, okay? And what are those two kingdoms once again? The southern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Judah, the northern kingdom, which is the house of Israel, okay? All right. Now, let's go over these, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. All right. The southern kingdom, on the other hand, would be the Negroid tribes. The southern kingdom, which is the tribe of Judah, the kingdom of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah would be the Negroid tribes. The Negroid tribes are the Judites, which are the so-called Negroes, the Benjamites, which are the so-called Jamaicans today, and the Haitians, okay, the Levites, which are the so-called Haitians. So the southern kingdom is Negroid tribes, black people, okay? Judites, which are the so-called Negroes, Benjamites, which are the so-called Jamaicans, and Levites, which are the so-called Haitians. So altogether, you have Judites, Benjamites, and Levites. Those are the southern kingdom of Israel. Primarily Negroes, black people. Now, on the other hand, the northern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Ephraim, or the house of Israel. They are the Indian tribes. Okay, the northern kingdom are the Indian tribes, which are the Ephraimites, because he was basically the top of the northern kingdom, basically the tribe of Ephraim. The northern kingdom are the Ephraimites, okay, which are the Puerto Ricans, the Manasserites, which are the Cubans, the Issacharites, which are the Mexicans, the Naphtalites, which are the Hawaiians and Samoans, the Reubenites, which are the Seminole Indians, the Zebulonites, which are the Panamanians and Colombians, Asherites, which are the Brazilians and Argentinians, Seminites, which are the Dominicans, and North American Indians, which are the Gadites. Okay, those are the northern kingdom. Okay, and let's not forget that Solomon caused these kingdoms, these 12 tribes, to be split into two separate kingdoms. So actually, the Gentiles that are mentioned in the New Testament are the northern kingdom. They are the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay, they are the northern kingdom. They are known as the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, because basically mercy, on the other hand, was not given into the northern kingdom until a lot of time. Let's get there. All right. Okay. So basically, after the split concerning the kingdoms, the Israelites, they went into several captivities after this split happened between the 12 tribes of Israel. After that split, when Solomon went into sin, after Israel was split up and isolated, the Israelites went in several captivities. You had the Israelites that went into the Assyrian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, the Persian Mede captivity, and the Greek captivity. Okay, so basically, as a result, there were Israelites scattered all over in different countries and regions. Okay, and I'm gonna give you an example, because you had Israelites that was basically living in Rome. You had Israelites that was living in the city of Corinth. You had Israelites that was living in Galatia. You had Israelites that was living in Ephesus. You had Israelites that was living in Philippi. You had Israelites that was living in Thessalonica. And you even had Israelites that was living in Egypt. Okay? So this is why Apostle Paul, concerning the New Testament, sent letters out to the Gentiles, which are the Gentile Israelites, which is who? The northern kingdom of Israel. This is why Paul sent letters out to these Gentiles, these Israelites that was calling themselves Gentiles, to get them back in their state of mind, to let them know they are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This is why Paul was sending letters to concerning the city of Rome, concerning the city of Corinth. That's why you have the book of Romans. That's why you have the book of Corinthians. That's why you have the book of Galatians, because he was writing to the dispersed in Galatia. You have the book of Ephesians, because he was writing to the dispersed in the city of Ephesians. You have the book of Philippians, because Paul was sending letters into where? Philippi. He was sending a letter to the dispersed Israelites in Philippi. You have the book of Thessalonians, because why? Paul was sending letters out to the dispersed Israelites in the city of Thessalonica, okay? And those were called the lost sheep. So when you look in the New Testament and you see the word Gentile, it's not talking about all other nations concerning the white man, Chinese man, Africans, Arabians, and so forth. It's not talking about those nations as being Gentiles. It's talking about the children of Israel, okay? That were called Gentiles in the New Testament. Okay? Trying to do a quick lesson on today. It's not going to be very long, because there are other accounts that have already done these lessons online. I'm just trying to paint the picture better so you can see these things, okay? So Paul was not writing letters to any other nation of people. He was writing letters to who? He was writing letters to the scattered sheep of the lost house of Israel, okay? He was writing letters to the scattered sheep to the house of Israel. How do we know this? Let's go to St. John 7:35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go that we shall not find him? He's talking about Christ. Basically, where is Christ going that we may not find him? Okay. Then they said, will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? You see that? So it says, they said, will he go into the dispersed? What does dispersed mean? Dispersed means scattered. Dispersed means isolated. Okay? It says, will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles? Because the dispersed that was among the other nations were the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay? It was Israelites among the Gentiles that was calling themselves Gentiles. Give you a perfect example. Like, okay, concerning us today, the so-called Negroes in the Western Hemisphere are the real Jews. But are we not among Gentiles, such as white people? Are we not among Chinese people? Are we not among Arabian people? Are we not among different nationalities of people? So guess what? Us being the real Jews, the Negroes being the real Jews in America today, we are among other nationalities of people. That's why they call America the Great Melting Pot. So we are among Gentile people. Okay? And that's why most Negroes, which are the real Jews in America, have taken upon the customs of America. All right? And they have made themselves Gentiles. This is the same deal in the New Testament, okay? We have taken upon the customs of America. The customs of Christmas, the customs of celebrating the first, thinking the first of the month is January when it's not, it's really March. You see what I'm saying? Thinking that Valentine's Day is significant, taking upon the customs of America. Celebrating Easter, celebrating St. Patrick's Day, Columbus Day, Halloween, and so forth. We have taken upon the customs of America. So therefore, we have made ourselves Gentiles. We have made ourselves Gentiles. But according to the flesh, we are Israelites. We are the real Jews. This is the same deal in the New Testament. You had the northern kingdom that was isolated, living in different cities. Okay, you had Israelites all the way down in the city of Rome, all the way down in the city of Corinth, all the way down in the city of Philippi, taking upon the customs of these other nations. Paul was writing letters to let them know, look, this has to stop. Okay? This has to stop. The northern kingdom. Salvation was not given to the northern kingdom after that split until a latter time. Salvation was given to the Jews first. Who are the Jews? Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. The Negroes and Jamaicans and Haitians. Salvation was given to the Jews first, then the Gentiles, which is the northern kingdom. Because the Most High, he had mercy upon Judah, but he didn't have mercy upon the northern kingdom, which is the house of Israel, to a latter time. How do we know that? How do we know that? We're getting the scriptures. Let's get there. How do we know that? That the Most High had mercy on Judah, but he didn't have mercy on the house of Israel. We're going to show you this. Okay, let's go to Hosea 1:6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. in 15:24, out of St. Matthew 15:24, he said, but he answered and said, I'm not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's saying that basically that he's sent to the northern kingdom, okay? Because the northern kingdom were not the Jews, the southern kingdom of the Jews. And basically when Christ was around 2,000 years ago, predominantly he taught the southern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Judah. Benjamin, Judah, and Levi were the tribes that was lingering around during the time of Christ when he walked the earth. All the other tribes were dispersed. That's why he called them the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was talking about the northern kingdom, okay? So the northern kingdom did not attain mercy until Christ came on the scene. All right? We're going to get you another verse on that. How do we know that? So it was through Christ that the house of Israel attained mercy, based on the book of Hosea. We went over that. Okay. Let's go to Hosea 1 and 10. Let's go back to Hosea 1 and 10 to show you that they did not attain mercy until Christ came on the scene. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. It shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. Because the northern kingdom wasn't called God's people. He didn't have mercy on the northern kingdom. All right? The northern kingdom was looked at as a totally different people. That's how the southern kingdom looked at the northern kingdom after that isolation, after that split, when Solomon went into sin. Okay? But when Christ came on the scene, Christ, basically, it was through him that the house of Israel attained the mercy. That's why he said, according to St. Matthew 15:24, I'm not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Those lost sheep were the northern kingdom. Okay? Now, all right. Let's get more precepts, okay? So before the house of Israel attained mercy, they was not living in Jerusalem, okay? They fell into idolatry, okay? They was not even living in Jerusalem. Therefore, that's why basically the northern kingdom, they're not the Jews, basically. They were not called the Jews. The Jews are the Judites, Benjamites, and Levites. Okay? That's why salvation was given to the Jew first, then the Gentiles. Not talking about the other nations such as the white man, Africans, Asians, Arabians, and other nations. It's not talking to them as Gentiles. It's talking to salvation was given to the Jews first, and then it was given to the Israelite Gentiles. All right? Because Christ dealt only with Jews. All right? He didn't deal with Gentile Israelites that was Israelite foreigners, that were the northern kingdom. But in the latter time, he will give them mercy. And I'm going to show you this. All right? How do we know this? Let's look at it. I want to go over this. I want to go over this before we close out. Because when you read Romans 11, let's go to Romans 11. Let's go to Romans 11. We're going to talk about the grafted, the grafted in, the ones that was grafted in. Those are Israelites as well. All right? Romans 11 and 25. It says, for I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness and part is happened to Israel, and to the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. What it's talking about? It's talking about the fullness. That fullness is that basically it's saying that blindness in part has happened to Israel. And the reason why it says that, because the house of Judah, they had to go off to make room for the scattered Israelites. All right? They had to go off to make room for the scattered Israelites. Okay? So it was set up for the house of Judah to go off. That's why the Jews failed. Okay? How do we know that? How do we know that? Okay? Let's look at 1 Peter 2 and 7, because Let's look at 1 Peter 2:7, because these grafted in, this grafted in Gentiles were the Israelites as well. These was the northern kingdom that was grafted in. All right? It was set up that way for the Jews to fall, so they can be brought in. So the fullness, that's why it says, so that fullness of the Gentiles become in. What is that fullness? The people becoming one nation again. All right? So let's go to 1 Peter 2:7, and it's going to basically explain what happened, man, and to the Jews. 1 Peter 2:7. And to you, therefore, which believe, he is precious. Okay, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. Who is that stone? That stone is Christ. It said that these builders disallowed the stone. So who are the builders? The builders are the chief priests and the Pharisees, okay? Those are the builders that rejected Christ, which is the stone, okay? All right? How do we know that? Let's go into the 21st chapter of St. Matthew, beginning with the 42nd verse. And this is going to explain that the builders that rejected the stone, concerning 1 Peter 2:7, the builders that rejected the stone, which is Christ, were who? It was the chief priests and it was the Pharisees. All right? And the precept is the 21st chapter, St. Matthew, verse 42. So let's get that. I'm just going to let you know that these Pharisees, these chief priests, they were Jews. All right? The Pharisees were the leaders of Israel. Okay? They were the leaders of Israel. Now, who were the Pharisees? They were Jews. And they rejected the stone. Okay? Which is Christ. And Yeshua said unto them, some call him Yahushua. It says that Yeshua or Yahushua said unto them, did ye never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. So that stone which the builders rejected was Christ. All right? They rejected the teachings, man. The same has become the head of the corner. So the builders are the chief priests and the Pharisees, which are Jews that rejected the doctrines and the teachings of Christ. All right? I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Because the Jews, they stumbled, but rather through their fall, salvation have come into the Gentiles. Okay, who were the Jews that stumbled? Who were the Jews that rejected the stone? The Pharisees, the scribes and the Pharisees that were the leaders of Israel, okay? They rejected the stone, which is Christ. They were the Jews, all right? But rather through their fall, salvation have come into the Gentiles, the Gentile Israelites, the Israelite foreigners, which is the northern kingdom. Through their fall, salvation came into the northern kingdom to provoke them to jealousy. So it was set up that the house of Judah had to go off to make room for the scattered Israelite foreigners, so they can be one full nation again. Okay? It was set up that way. So Gentiles grafted in were the scattered Gentile Israelites, not Gentiles of other nations. Okay? Because we read that in Psalms 147, 19 and 20. He has not dealt with any other nation. So if you're saying the Most High is dealing with any these nations concerning the white man and other nations, East Indians and Arabs and Chinese people and Africans, if you're saying that he's dealing with these nations, then basically you are basically making the Most High out of a liar. Because he said that he had not dealt so with any other nation. And his statutes and his judgments, they have not known them, concerning Psalms 147, 19 and 20. So if he have not dealt so with any other nation, we know that these Gentiles in the New Testament are Gentile Israelites, Israelite Gentiles, which are Israelite foreigners. which is no other than the northern kingdom. All right? Those are the Israelites. Those are the Gentiles that was grafted in. All right? That's why according to Romans 11 and 18, that says, boast not against the natural branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Because who was the root? Abraham. All right? All right? And we know that it says, thou would say then, the branches was broken off that I might be grafted in. Those natural branches were the Jews. Those natural branches were the Judites. Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. That rejected the stone. They rejected stone. But what is that stone? That stone was Christ. They rejected it. Okay, so we gave, basically, we're gonna continue on. Because of unbelief, they was broken off. They didn't believe in the doctrines of Christ, the Jews, and they stand by faith. But be not high-minded, but fear. So it says, well, because of unbelief, they was broken off, and thou stand by faith. He was talking about the northern kingdom. Be not high-minded, but fear. Okay? For if the Most High spare not the natural branches, which are the Jews, take heed, lest he spare not thee. Okay? Which basically are the northern kingdom. All right? Behold, therefore, the goodness and the severity of the Most High on them which felt severity, but towards thee goodness. If thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. Okay? See? He said, if you don't continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. So, through Christ, the house of Israel attained mercy, based on the book of Hosea. Okay? Now, we know it says, let's look at 11 and 25. For I will not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery. What is that mystery, man? What is that mystery? That mystery is basically that the Gentiles that were grafted in to the covenants were the Israelite foreigners, man. That's the mystery. Okay? For I would not, brethren, that ye be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel, and to the fullness of the Gentiles come in. That's talking about Israel being one kingdom again. Okay, and I'm finna close it out. Basically with these scriptures, I want to close it out with this. Let's look at a couple more scriptures, then we're going to close it out. Let's look at Jeremiah 3 and 8. The Israelites, the Gentiles that were grafted in, they were not different nations of people that were not Israelites, okay? The Gentiles grafted in, they was not other nations. They was Gentile Israelites. It took me a while to figure out this, man, because when I first came into the knowledge of it, I thought differently. I thought that the Gentiles were other nations concerning Edomites and Ishmaelites and so forth, but it's not talking about that. It's talking about the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which are the northern kingdom. And I saw when for all that causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery. Backsliding Israel committed adultery. That's the northern kingdom. So they committed adultery, and I put her away and given her a bill of divorce. So the Most High put the northern kingdom away and gave her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. But he had mercy on Judah though. It says that Israel, backsliding Israel, committed adultery, and I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. This is Jeremiah 3 and 8. Jeremiah 3 and 8. It says, yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. But concerning the scriptures, that concerning Hosea 1 and 7, out of the book of Hosea 1 and 7, what did it say? Hosea 1 and 7, it said, I will have mercy upon the house of Judah. So the mercy was given to the house of Judah. He put the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, away. All right? And those were the Gentiles. Those were the Israelite Gentiles, okay? How do we know that? How do we know that? Let's look at Ephesians 2 and 11. Ephesians 2 and 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles, that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who were called uncircumcision by that which are called circumcision in the flesh, made by hands. See that? It says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles. Why? Because in time past, they would take upon the customs of other nations. They were scattered out of other nations. They were calling themselves Greeks and Romans and so forth. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh. Okay, now, let's look at Ephesians 2 and 12. It says that at that time ye were without Christ. Ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers. Those are Israelite Gentiles that were scattered in other nations. Okay? Because I want to say, basically, strangers is the Latin word for extraneous. Extraneous means foreigner. Okay? And Gentile is the Latin word for gentilis, which means foreigner. So when it says being strangers, it's talking about the Latin word for extraneous, which is foreigners. So on a better term, it would be that at time you were without Christ, being aliens from commonwealth of Israel, and foreigners, which is strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope without God in the world. Okay, we're still in Ephesians 2 and 12. Let's look at 13. It says, but now in Christ ye who sometime were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. That was the kingdom of Ephraim, man. That were given no mercy. But when Christ came on the scene, the kingdom of Ephraim attained mercy. Okay, and it was for the Jews to go out and teach the northern kingdom, which were the lost sheep. All right, that's why salvation was given to the Jew first. Let's continue with 14. For he is our peace, who had made both one. What is this talking about? He is our peace that have made both one, and have broken down the middle wall or partition between us. What is that middle wall? That middle wall was that split when Solomon went into sin and caused the two kingdoms, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, to be split into two separate kingdoms, which are the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Concerning to Ephesians 2 and 14, that's that middle wall or partition, when the kingdom was split into two separate kingdoms. Okay? The southern kingdom and the northern kingdom was looked at as two totally different type of people. Okay? So the northern kingdom was looked at as Gentiles, while the southern kingdom was looked at as Jews. Okay? That's why I said, according to Ephesians 2 and 14, for he is our peace, who made both one, and had broken down the middle wall or partition between us. How do we know that? Let's look at let's look at Ezekiel 37, 21 and 22. It says, and saying to them, thus said the Most High, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, and whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Okay? Verse 22, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountain of Israel. Okay? That goes back to that Ephesians 2 and 14 about that partition, about that wall being broken down. Okay? Concerning Ezekiel, all right, 37 and 22. I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations. There shall be no more two kingdoms. There shall be no more the kingdom, which is the northern kingdom, which is the house of Israel, and the southern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Judah. There will be no more two nations. There will be one kingdom like it was during the times of David. Okay? And that's why, if you look at Amos, that's why Amos was telling you in 9:11, Amos 9:11, it says, in that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen and close up the breaches thereof. Talking about he will make the two kingdoms, which is the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Israel, one kingdom again. Okay, and I will rise up his ruins and I will build it as in the days of old. Because I'm going to return the kingdom like it was in the days of old. I'm going to return these two kingdoms into one kingdom. Okay? So, the northern kingdom received mercy when Christ came on the scene by them being grafted in. All right? Believe it or not, y'all, it's the truth. Let's look at Matthew 21:43. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth fruits. What it's talking about? It's talking about the Jews, man. It's talking about basically how, I'm just explaining how basically the Jews fell, man. So salvation was given to the Gentile Israelites to provoke the Jews to jealousy. All right?